Two martial arts legends standing face to face in what would become one of the most talked about confrontations in combat sports history. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a katana blade. When news broke that Steven Seagal and Gene LeBell would finally settle their rivalry in the ring, the martial arts community went absolutely wild. This wasn't just another fight. This was the collision of two completely different fighting philosophies, two contrasting styles that had been brewing for years. The backstory? Both men had carved their names into martial arts legend through different paths. Seagal, the mysterious Aikido master with Hollywood credentials, versus LeBell, the legendary Godfather of Grappling who dominated combat sports for decades. Their mutual respect had always been tinged with the question, who would win in a real fight? But here's where it gets interesting. Seagal's greatest strength was also his potential weakness. His style relied heavily on distance management and precise timing. He was a surgical striker, preferring to pick apart opponents with calculated attacks rather than engage in prolonged exchanges. This approach had served him well in controlled environments, but against a pressure grappler, it could become problematic. Seagal's conditional background meant he was used to fighting under specific parameters, standing combat, where his striking and joint manipulation could dominate. Ground fighting, especially against a submission specialist, demanded different skills. His conditioning, while excellent for explosive techniques, hadn't been tested in grinding, extended grappling battles. But here's where it gets interesting. Seagal's greatest strength was also his potential weakness. His style relied heavily on distance management and precise timing. He was a surgical striker, preferring to pick apart opponents with calculated attacks rather than engage in prolonged exchanges. This approach had served him well in controlled environments, but against a pressure grappler, it could become problematic. Seagal's traditional background meant he was used to fighting under specific parameters. Stand in combat, where his striking and joint manipulation could dominate. Ground fighting, especially against a submission specialist, demanded different skills. His conditioning, while excellent for explosive techniques, hadn't been tested in grinding, extended grappling battles. When LeBell stepped into the arena, you could feel the atmosphere shift. This wasn't just another fighter. This was a man who'd built his reputation on being absolutely unstoppable once he got his hands on you. His 5'9" frame carried the kind of functional muscle that came from years of serious grappling, not just show. LeBell brought something Seagal had rarely faced: relentless grappling pressure combined with devastating submission skills. His judo and wrestling background gave him incredible takedown ability. Those hands were like iron clamps wrapped in human skin. His competition record spoke volumes. Multiple championships across different grappling organizations, with a fighting style that simply overwhelmed opponents through sheer technical superiority. The man's conditioning was legendary. Stories circulated about his training regimen. Hours of grappling, thousands of repetitions, the kind of dedication that bordered on obsession. LeBell could maintain high-intensity grappling output for extended periods, something that gave him a massive advantage in longer fights. His mental game was equally impressive. LeBell had that rare ability to absorb punishment and keep working for submissions. He'd been hurt in fights before, but never stopped hunting for the finish. This psychological warfare often broke opponents before the physical battle did. But LeBell had his vulnerabilities too. His aggressive grappling style sometimes left him open to strikes during takedown attempts. Against superior strikers, his forward pressure approach could become predictable. His submissions, while powerful, required commitment, and commitment creates windows of opportunity for the right opponent. When the bell rang, Seagal immediately established his striking rhythm. His hands moved like lightning, testing distance and timing with Aikido precision. LeBell, true to form, began his methodical advance, looking for the clinch that would neutralize Seagal's striking advantage. The first significant exchange came 90 seconds in. Seagal landed a picture-perfect palm strike that snapped LeBell's head back, drawing blood from his nose. The crowd erupted. This was the Seagal they'd come to see. But LeBell's response was immediate and brutal, a double-leg takedown that sent both men crashing to the canvas, where the real battle would begin. This pattern continued through the early rounds. Seagal would score with his lightning-fast strikes, but LeBell kept pressing forward, absorbing punishment, and systematically working toward his grappling game. By the fourth round, something shifted. Seagal's movement, while still impressive, had lost that effortless quality. Those early takedown attempts from LeBell were accumulating damage, making Seagal's footwork less crisp. Meanwhile, LeBell looked like he was just getting warmed up. The decisive moment came in round 5. Seagal threw one of his signature combination attacks, a series of palm strikes that had dropped numerous opponents. But this time, LeBell was ready. He absorbed the first strike on his shoulder, ducked under the second, and shot for a single-leg takedown. Suddenly, Seagal found himself in LeBell's world, on the ground where technique trumped mystique. LeBell immediately went to work, securing side control and beginning his methodical submission hunt. For the first time in the fight, Seagal looked genuinely vulnerable. What happened next revealed the true character of both fighters. Seagal, despite being taken down, showed incredible defensive grappling. He used his Aikido principles to create space, buying time to get back to his feet. His corner worked frantically between rounds, trying to prepare him for what everyone knew was coming. LeBell, sensing victory, turned up the grappling pressure. His takedowns became more frequent and more powerful. He was systematically breaking down Seagal's defensive walls, round by round, technique by technique. The 8th round was pure warfare. Seagal, knowing he was behind on points, threw caution to the wind. His strikes came in rapid-fire succession, each one a potential fight-ender. But LeBell weathered the storm like a mountain enduring a hurricane. He absorbed what he couldn't avoid, worked through what he could, and kept pressing for the takedown. When the final bell rang, both fighters embraced with genuine respect. They'd pushed each other to limits neither had experienced before. Seagal had shown that his striking and Aikido were every bit as dangerous as advertised. LeBell had proven that his reputation for relentless grappling and conditioning was well-deserved. But in the end, Gene LeBell won by unanimous decision. The judges scored the fight based on effective grappling, ground control, and cumulative damage, all areas where LeBell had gradually built advantages throughout the contest. LeBell won because he imposed his will on the fight. While Seagal had moments of brilliance on the feet, LeBell controlled the overall pace and direction of the battle. His takedowns forced Seagal to fight LeBell's fight rather than his own. The grappling exchanges that seemed minor in early rounds became fight-changing factors as the contest progressed. Most importantly, LeBell's conditioning allowed him to maintain his intensity while Seagal's striking precision deteriorated under grappling pressure. In martial arts, as in life, sometimes the wrestler really does beat the striker, not through any single moment of brilliance, but through relentless, methodical ground control. This fight became legendary not because it was one-sided, but because it showcased two different paths to martial arts mastery. Seagal proved that traditional striking arts could trouble even the most determined grappler. LeBell proved that superior grappling, conditioning, and an unbreakable will could overcome superior striking and mystique. Both men left the arena as legends, but only one left as victor.